In the quiet stream reserve, 3 lynx cubs were rescued from traffickers, but their mother had perished. The orphans under observation became withdrawn and refused food due to stress. When standard methods proved ineffective, a bold idea emerged. Introduce the lynx cubs to a cat named Bella to take on the role of a nursing mother. Could this recently birthed cat help save them? What began as a desperate move turned into an astonishing bond, changing the perceptions of wildlife rehabilitation. This story is about a touching relationship. Bella took the distressed cubs under her care. The sun barely peeked over the hills surrounding the quiet stream reserve when Jane Smith received a distressing call. At 58, Jane thought she had seen everything in her 30 years of wildlife rehabilitation. But the panic in Ranger Tom's voice indicated this day would be different. "We have 3 lynx cubs," he told Jane. "They were confiscated from traffickers trying to sell them on the black market." His voice trembled. "The mother didn't survive." Jane closed her eyes, gripping the phone tighter. Another victim of the illegal exotic animal trade that thrived in the region. "How many weeks old are they?" she asked, already considering what would be needed. "No more than 4. They refuse to eat, Jane, all 3. The vet says they're fading fast." 30 minutes later, Jane stood in her examination room, looking at 3 small bundles of spotted fur that barely fit in her hands. Their eyes were open, blue and unfocused, and their small bodies trembled with fear and hunger. The smallest, with a white patch on her ear, let out a pitiful meow, echoing in the quiet morning air. "Oh, little ones," Jane whispered, gently extending a finger to stroke her. For 3 days, Jane tried everything she knew. Bottle feeding was rejected, and syringe feeding caused stress so severe that one of the cubs had a seizure. They huddled in the corner of their heated enclosure, becoming more and more withdrawn, their eyes growing duller by the hour. On the morning of the 4th day, Jane sat in her office, papers and reports forgotten. It seemed like everything could end in failure. Her granddaughter Emma, a wildlife biology student interning at the reserve, knocked gently before entering. "You didn't go to bed last night, Grandma," she said, placing a cup of coffee on the table. Jane sighed. "These little ones won't last another day without nourishment. I've tried everything, Emma, everything." Emma sat beside her, a thoughtful look in her eyes. "Not everything, Grandma. What about Bella?" Jane looked up. "Bella? But she's a cat." Bella had come to the reserve the previous winter, found as a stray, half-frozen. She was mostly Maine Coon, with fluffy fur and expressive eyes that seemed to understand everything. After giving birth to her kittens in the reserve's clinic, she proved to be a wonderful mother, and all her kittens found loving homes. Bella stayed at the reserve, her gentle presence becoming a source of comfort for many animals in their care. "That's too risky," Jane began, but Emma interrupted her. "More risky than letting these cubs starve. You always said that in rehabilitation, sometimes you have to try the unthinkable." Jane remembered the words of her mentor from the past. "Sometimes nature needs a little help to find the way." "Bring Bella," Jane finally said, "but let's be very careful." They brought Bella into the room next to the lynx cubs. Jane sat on the floor, wrapping the smallest one in a soft towel. "Gently, Bella," Jane whispered as Emma brought the cat in. Bella's nose twitched immediately, her ears perked forward. She approached slowly, her tail swaying gently. When she reached Jane, she bent her head to gently sniff the lynx cub. The cub stirred, letting out a weak hiss, but Bella remained unfazed. She lay down next to him, extended a paw, and began to lick him gently as if he were her own kitten. Jane held her breath. To her amazement, the cub relaxed and turned its face toward Bella's warmth and love. "Grandma," Emma whispered, eyes wide open. "Look!" Tears welled up in Jane's eyes as she carefully placed the cub closer to Bella. The cat wrapped around him, continuing to lick him as if he were her own. "Let's try the others," Jane said gently. Each of the other two cubs was brought in one by one, and the same miracle occurred. Bella accepted each, warming them with her body, tending to them with maternal care. Within an hour, all three cubs were comfortably nestled on her stomach, and to Jane's great surprise, began to feed. "It's not the ideal nutrition," Jane noted, watching them nurse. "But perhaps this connection will save them." Emma hugged her grandmother's shoulder. "Sometimes what they need most is love, Grandma. You've always said that." Over the next week, changes occurred that even surprised Jane. Under Bella's constant care, the Lynx cubs began to thrive. They gained weight, their fur became brighter, and their eyes glowed with curiosity. Bella never left them, caring for them and watching over their play. The reserve staff named them Spark, the girl with the white ear, Shadow, the largest boy, and Bright, the little explorer. Jane documented this unusual interspecies experience, capturing moments of extraordinary closeness. She recognized the potential of this bond and its significance for wildlife rehabilitation. By the time the cubs reached 8 weeks of age, they were starting to eat solid food. Their play was lively and full of energy, chasing and pouncing, developing their hunting skills. "Their wild instincts are intact," Jane told Dr. Brown, the reserve's consulting veterinarian. "They're developing skills on schedule despite the unusual circumstances." Dr. Brown nodded, examining Shadow. "Physical development is on track, but I'm worried about their attachment to Bella. They will need to either return to the wild or be placed in an appropriate facility." Jane knew he was right. The reserve was based on rehabilitation, with the possibility of release or placement. "We'll cross that bridge when we come to it," she said, watching Shadow return to Bella for another dose of motherly care. By 4 months, the Lynx cubs had become unofficial mascots of the reserve. Volunteers enjoyed watching them practice their jumps and chase each other. Bella remained their constant companion, although her role shifted from mother to patient mentor and guardian. A proposal came from a nature center in Wyoming to take them all together. It surprised and pleased Jane at the same time. Careful planning was needed to prepare them for the move and separate them from Bella, but it was the best solution. The day they left the reserve was filled with emotion. Jane personally accompanied them on the journey, watching as Bella and the Lynx communicated in the car with care and tenderness. The nature center was impressive, large, with specialized habitats for each occupant. It was exciting to see the Lynx quickly settle into their new territory, exploring their new surroundings with curiosity. 6 months later, Jane received updates on the progress of their unusual family. The Lynx were growing successfully, becoming true beauties. Bella had also taken on the role of a family member, caring for her charges. This case became the subject of articles and scientific publications, contributing important discoveries to global wildlife rehabilitation practices. Later, Jane shared this story with other specialists, often adding, "Sometimes the most powerful medicine isn't in drugs. Something like connection and comfort can overcome the highest barriers." And on quiet evenings, visiting the nature center, Jane watched Bella, now older but still devoted to her family, sitting peacefully beside the fence. The Lynx lay nearby, their bond quiet yet powerful. It made Jane smile. Sometimes the unthinkable is just what you need. Did you enjoy this story? Tell us your thoughts in the comments, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to not miss new releases. See you soon.